Board of Commissioners to order and ask you to stand. Mr. Burton's going to lead us in prayer, and then Mr. Mowry will lead us in the pledge.
Okay, shall we pray? Our Father, we thank you for the great and good God that you are, that you watch and care over us. We ask that you continue to be with us in our lives every day and with us as we conduct this meeting. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. As we are moving into the agenda today, just a note, we have officially come out of the declared state of emergency by the governor of the state, trying to still figure out exactly where we are, but we've had great numbers these past 2 weeks. I think we're going to have a comment here in a little bit from our health director. I think he'll be with us, but we will move forward. And gentlemen, it's great to see you in person. So let's go to the approval of current claims, minutes, and payroll. And with regard to our claims, we had pre-approval for our invoice edit reports. General batch was at $112,943.25. The other batch, $40,699.79. And the highway batch at $19,072.64 for a grand total of $172,715.68. Now that was a pre-approval, and we would need a motion to ratify that pre-approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Burton. Second, Mr. Mowry. Any discussion on those bills?
No.
All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it is carried unanimously. Our invoice edit reports for today, the 7th, no, is that a typo or is that
What do
from
you
last
say?
month?
That's 3-7. I gave you one that's correct. It should be 3-7.
I got 3-7 on, 2-7 on that.
Yeah, you got the old one then.
I got the old.
It's 3-7.
All right, that is for today, 3-7. General invoice edit batch at $458,911.92. Other batch at $76,399.32. And the highway batch, $59,581.73 for a grand total of expenses at $594,892.97. And if you've had the opportunity to review those, we would need a motion and support to approve those claims.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Burton, second, Mr. Mowry. Any discussion on those claims? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it is carried. And then we had payroll number 5. We had a pre-approval payroll that was given on March 1st. The gross amount was $531,515.62, and it was paid out on the 4th of March. And we would need a motion to ratify the pre-approval payroll 5.
So, second.
Motion, Mr. Mowry, and second, Mr. Burton. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is carried. We don't have any minutes that we're ready to get that last time around. All right, we are moving to communications and board updates. Anything out of the auditor's office, sir?
I do not think so. I think we'll pass to the next one.
All right. I see our May director. I see a representative from the health department too. We'll get to you, or? Oh, Dr. Moore's online. Okay. I will call on Dr. Moore right after EMA.
Good morning. Good news today, we have one case to report, so we're almost to our goal of 0. We're getting there. Things that continue to improve in the county as far as COVID is concerned, and making good headway there. The governor did rescind the emergency declaration, so we can start to move forward with hopefully dismantling our local EMA as far as the monthly meetings, weekly meetings have been, and all that at the EOC. So I'll contact the state today, see where we are, but we'll wait for the EOC's governing body to give us that okay to move forward, and then we'll dismantle that, which, by the way, March 12th, 2020 was the day we activated, and we've been nonstop since.
So we almost hit 2 full years.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah. Questions for our EMA director this morning?
No.
Kevin and I have been watching the tower sites, making progress there. The upland site, he'll probably give you more update on that than I can. But the upland site is started. First 80 feet is set, and so they're moving forward, and then they'll move to the Marion site, I believe, this week, correct?
Yes, the steel for the Marion site will be delivered Wednesday.
So the first 80 feet are installed, and then we'll come back with a larger
Correct. So
crane.
each of the 3 sites, and then they'll come in with a big crane and a crew, and then they'll put the rest up.
Great. All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have online Dr. Moore. Can you hear us all right, Dr. Moore?
I can hear you fine. It is bike week here, so you may hear some rumbling in the background, but I'm here.
All right. From the Health Department and the State Department of Health, can you bring us any formal update that'll help the community and the commissioners know what's next?
So the formal update that we're getting is that we're moving out of the state of emergency into, as you mentioned, the state of concern. The numbers, the amount of transmission that we're seeing, the number of hospitalizations and death are wonderfully down. We've been surprised before, so we don't want to get complacent with this, but at least the need to be on our toes to impose lots of public restrictions seems to be going down. The schools are being relaxed. Public gatherings are being relaxed. The federal government still has the things like transportation and other things on a higher alert, but the things are really coming down and coming down nicely, and we're watching with hopeful anticipation now. Like Bob Jackson said, 2 years is a long time, but we got through this together, it appears.
From your, I'm really kind of putting you on the spot, Doctor, but from your perspective, you mentioned that we're relaxing the amount of gatherings. We've had a restriction for commissioner and council meetings, no more than 25 in the room. Can we start relaxing that procedure as well? Do you feel comfortable with that for government?
I feel comfortable. I feel comfortable with that. I don't want to get ahead of our state leadership in that, but I am comfortable that we are at a point now where we need to be cautious and aware, but we don't need the big restrictions that we've had before. And so, yes, lifting that 25 number, I'm in favor of.
All right, and right now I think our signs are strongly recommended for masks. We decided a couple of weeks ago that we would work with each department on those plexiglass shields, whether they want to keep them up or not. Are we still at a point where we should, or can we start negotiating with our different departments on those shields?
And I would move to negotiating with the departments. There are benefits to keeping that down. The flu season this year, and it spread the same way that COVID is spread. And things that we did to reduce COVID can reduce the flu. If the shield gets in the way of communicating, they may want to take it down. If not, there's that added layer of protection. But it's an option that can be negotiated and not something that I think should be dictated.
All right. Questions, gentlemen? And probably my last question, and you're going to have to gaze into your crystal ball. Are we at the end?
We just simply do not know. We did not expect Delta. It hit us like a ton of bricks. We did not expect Omicron, and it might have been a blessing in disguise. This is my opinion and not the facts, that we were looking 2 years ago, is there a point when we would get to herd immunity, when we'd have enough people that had some degree of protection that the virus couldn't simply move through and do devastating things. And with the milder Omicron providing some immunity, we may be at the point where we have a bad flu season and not something that is killing off our citizens. I still think the vaccine provides a lot of added protection, and we've been surprised before, so I agree, cautiously optimistic.
So right now, CDC nor World Health Organization have any variants of interest that we need to be watching?
There's nothing on the horizon that's scary.
Okay.
But again, Omicron just popped up out of nowhere. So don't get careless with it, but let's take a breath while we have a chance to take a breath.
Amen to that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Have a good day.
You too, Doctor.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Any other elected officials, department heads in the room that need to make a report? All right. IT, Marcus, anything from?
No. Like I said, so my next thing I gotta do is I have to go up front of the council and request permission before we move forward with that RFP, because we're going to look at leasing options and stuff like that. So I know that was something you guys requested at the last meeting. So
Something else that we started to work on, do you have any report on this two-factor authentication process?
yeah, I'm working with several different IT directors around the state. They're basically, giving me different options of what they've been using. Currently right now, it's like, pretty much just us and IT are utilizing it, because there is a free option that comes with us just being on it. But the problem is just some of your folks, most of the folks that come into the county, they're, it's like 9 to 5. They don't check their emails outside. So when we turn that multi-factor authentication on, it's going to prompt them and it'll lock them out of their emails, even if they're here at the county. So basically, we're just exploring different options for those users, because otherwise they're going to have to, put the app on their phone. There's like a two-factor app, and there's probably some people that don't want to do that. So you're going to have to look into different alternatives. So that's what I'm doing right now.
This comes out of our liability insurance and understanding
Right.
that we are seeing a lot more local governments, different companies that are being attacked by hackers and thus losing important data and or finances. So
Yep.
appreciate you working on that and helping to make us as safe as possible from outside hackers.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm working with all the other IT directors. They're all going through the same thing, and a couple of them already have it done, so we don't need to reinvent the wheel. So I'm just looking to them for some guidance on that. It's been helpful. So that's all I got.
Any questions for IT? Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks again, gentlemen.
Mr. White is not with us today. He checked in. He has no new updates to report. If you recall from last session, he was going to look at a roll-off container potentially for assisting work with area plan or other debris work that the highway department would do. He went to the particular auction. It was selling for much more than what he wanted to put out, so he did not make any type of bids. So they're still looking for the possibility of a roll-off unit for the highway.
The job they did at 9 in Bocock, that looks very nice. We got to address the situation now across the street, but we're making progress.
Okay. All right, we can move to old business, and we have the word none there, which means we don't have anything on the table for old business. Are you aware of anything, gentlemen?
No.
All right, we will go to new business, and first up there, we have Mike Connor, representing Marion Utilities, and good morning, sir.
Good morning. It's good to see all of you, and it's good to be seen. This hopefully won't take too long, and we have a busy agenda. You'll recall that I've been here before for the Marion Utility, asking you in the past to transfer certain tax sale certificates to the city of Marion, with the ultimate goal being that the property is obtained through getting a tax deed, and eventually getting it in the hands and title of Marion Utility. And they've been very successful getting some of these properties, and thank you for your cooperation on that. And the properties are being used for, basically for construction in the future in the long-term control plan. As you're probably aware, the environmental authorities come down hard on the city of Marion when we get overflows into fresh water of E. coli and sewage, and we're trying to minimize those. We're also trying to separate the sanitary from the waste sewer, and that's being mandated slowly over time. It's extremely expensive, a very long-term project. So that's why we're trying to get these properties, because they happen to lie right where we could use them for these projects. The one I'm here today to talk about is identified in Exhibit A to the proposed form of resolution that I submitted. I hope you have that in front of you. It's a property at 115 South Ray Street, Marion. Current owner is Feng Shen. And we're here basically to ask you to transfer the tax certificate to us. Once we get it, we will send out the notices of the right of redemption. The property owner will have the right to redeem. Anyone with any interest, like a judgment lien holder or something, will have the ability to redeem the property. If no one redeems it, then we will move ahead with getting the tax deed and so forth. So, anyone have any questions?
This is the property, that's the old Y, and then just north of it would be property in question, a lot north of the old Y.
North of the line.
Yeah. It's racing First Street, is that right, Mike?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, when they get these properties, their goal is to make them look nice. A lot of the stuff is underground, and green spaces get created. So it's pretty good stuff for, changing what the property is now. These properties we've been getting are generally pretty dilapidated. So it's a win-win situation. If the property gets redeemed, we get tax money.
Questions or comments, gentlemen? What is your privilege? It's your privilege what you want to do. You want to think about it? You ready to make a motion on this particular resolution, or?
I move to approve the resolution.
I'll second.
Motion, Mr. Mowry, and a second from Mr. Burton. What resolution would that be for us?
Number 1.
First resolution of the year. And you made it.
Privileged.
All right, we have a resolution number 1, 2022, resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Grant County, Indiana, for the transfer of tax sale certificate to the city of Marion. And we have the Exhibit A, which designates 115 South Race Street. Current owner, Feng Shen, is that right?
Yes. One thing I noticed at the form I gave you, it says that it's being transferred to Marion Utilities. We need to strike out municipal utilities. It should just be to the city of Marion, because that's the step we need to take. I apologize, I didn't see that typo until just now. So
Right.
your resolution there at the end should read, for no consideration to the city of Marion, period.
All right. Noting that change.
Because the step, what we do is it goes to the city by title, and then the Board of Works accepts it, and then later on, title will eventually be signed over by the city to the Marion Utilities. Don't ask me why it has to be that way, it's a statute,
Whatever state law says, that's right.
and we do what the law requires.
Well, we will approve the resolution number 1 as corrected, and if you'll get us a fresh copy, then we can sign off on that.
I'll shoot one over to Justin.
Gentlemen, any other questions before we vote? All in favor of resolution number 1, 2022 as edited would say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it is carried.
Okay. Thank you, we appreciate your service.
Thank you. All right. We are moving to item number 2. Is Tara Blair with us? I see she's online.
I'm here.
Good morning. If
Good
you
morning.
will tell us who you're with and then make your presentation, please.
Yes, thank you. My name is Tara Blair, and I'm with the National Center for State Courts. And I come to you today to talk about an initiative that we are doing as part of the Regional Judicial Opioid Initiative. Indiana is one of 8 states that has been participating in that program since 2016. Judge Kenworthy basically gave me contact information for Sheriff Nevels, who led me to you all today. So the Regional Judicial Opioid Initiative was a multi-state initiative at the judicial level to come together and do strategic thinking about what to do about the opioid crisis and the overdose deaths that are occurring throughout this nation. So the beginning grant had a lot of forums and travel. Well, during the pandemic, travel ceased. So there was extra funding left over. So the board agreed to use that funding to purchase vending machines that can distribute naloxone in jails for people that are being released. We know that people being released from jail are at high rate of overdose. So the grant looked at the top 5 counties in each of the 8 states who had a high overdose rate, and Grant County unfortunately fell into that category. So we have funding to purchase these vending machines. I've spoken to Sheriff Nevels, and he is on board as well. There would be a partnership, of course, with a public health agency to supply the naloxone. The vending machine would be in the jail, and then the supplier would be through either the state health department, or there's a nonprofit there, which you may be aware of, called Overdose Lifeline, that was developed when Aaron's Law passed. That is there in Indiana. That organization has also purchased vending machines, and they've placed them in 16 jails throughout the state of Indiana. We, as the National Center, only have 2. So right now we've narrowed it down to Grant County getting that, and then also Fayette County. So I was asked to come and just tell you what the initiative was, to see if there could be some approval for the sheriff to place that vending machine in the jail. And the goal is harm reduction. We want to get this life-saving medication into as many hands as possible, knowing that people released from jail are at a higher rate to die from a drug overdose than the general population.
Questions? Comments?
I don't have a question. I do have a comment on these machines. I personally feel like that we're not doing enough to eliminate those who are coming into the facility, and yet we're rewarding them, if you will, with the opportunity to take a Narcan dose or application on their release, and I have a problem with that.
But substance use disorder, as we know, is it's a horrible, horrible disease. It hijacks people's brains, as we know. And unfortunately, Treatment does work, but it doesn't work the first time for most. It takes multiple attempts. So every way that we can get that notion of getting treatment into the hands, and some of the interesting things that have been happening with these Narcan, naloxone vending machines is there's actually information that's put on the box for treatment facilities, numbers that people can call to help get treatment, just a way to connect people to help them with their addiction. Yes, naloxone, its purpose is to save someone's life. So when they use drugs that are, unfortunately, we're seeing more and more fentanyl, the synthetic opioid that's being put in numerous drugs, and it's killing people. So this is just a way to save their life with the hope that by going through that overdose and living, we can get them into treatment to help treat that disease. So yeah, I agree that there needs to be more at the front end, but unfortunately people are still dying. And this is a way to save those lives with the hope of getting them into treatment and having them become productive citizens.
As a former sheriff, I see no advantage to enhancing a person's ability to get something they're trying to get a cure from by being incarcerated. Personally, I don't like it. I don't like this solution, if you will.
Questions? I've written 2 or 3 down real quick. Tara, who owns the machine? Do you still own the machine? Who supplies the Naloxone? And how long is that available until the sheriff's department or the county has to start paying for that?
The machine will actually be owned by Grant County because we have the National Center's already purchased that with federal grant funding. So the machine will belong to Grant County. The stocking the machine, again, I mentioned Overdose Lifeline. I've spoken with the director of that. That's the nonprofit. They are providing the naloxone for all of the vending machines in the jails already. So we would enter into, I say we would assist Grant County in entering into a partnership with that agency. That agency is getting the naloxone from the State Department of Health. So that would be the supplier. And I don't know that the Grant County would ever need to pay for that as long as the supplier, the state health department or this nonprofit has the money for the naloxone. If it gets to the point 3-4 years from now, well, we hope that we don't need it, right? We hope that we can get this problem to where we don't need this. But those vending machines, anything can be placed in those. So if it becomes that the naloxone is no longer a need or there's no funding to supply it, you could put anything in those vending machines that could be distributed to the public, or it could be snacks. I mean, it's formulated to fit the naloxone kits, but it can be, you can reconfigure the slots and put anything in it. So there will be no cost to Grant County. I will mention that in some of the jails in Indiana, the jail staff are actually, the Overdose Lifeline is shipping them the naloxone, and the jail staff are physically stocking the machine. In other locations, the health department or the nonprofits are literally coming to the jail and stocking it themselves so that the jail staff doesn't have to take the time to do that.
Just for my benefit, do we have a representative from the sheriff's department in with us today? Okay. What I would recommend, gentlemen, is that we take this under advisement, that we have some time to discuss it, talk with Sheriff Nevels and any other groups, maybe even the state health department and the group, and get a little bit more information before we make a decision. Would that seem fair?
Now, based on the information that I have, right now my vote is no, but I'll reserve the right to change that vote.
So, Tara, what we're probably thinking of is we're going to table this, take it under advisement for the next 2 weeks, and at our next session, we will try and have enough information to make some type of decision on that.
Yep, that works. If you all have any questions or anything, please reach out to me. I'm happy to answer anything that you have.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
You all have a great day.
All right. Item number 3, Mr. Ashcraft. Frank was trouble, and then you're double trouble. And Kevin didn't want to say anything, so.
Sorry about that. Actually, I sent an email to the council and commissioners back on January the 18th. Became aware of a problem that was developing within the industry, and that is the availability of ambulances like anything else. So I did, most of the ambulance services providers have actually consolidated, and we normally seek out a broker, which one we've used for the last 25 years, but also a second one. And I asked them, realizing what was happening, because I got a call from some of southern Indiana, they wanted to buy our ambulances because they lost 2 and can't replace them. So I did call 2 of the brokers and I said, come in and talk to us. Let us know what's going on. A couple weeks ago on Tuesday, they came with a proposal, because normally every 4 years, we have replaced 4 ambulances. And so they did give us a bid. The bid shocked us. It was $70,000 higher than the last go around. Part of that cost is just the inflation, but also the supply. But there are safety features on these new ambulances that are required now that were not on the previous one. That was on Tuesday. And they told us at that time it would be 500 and some days if we signed up today before they could find a chassis or to build the ambulance. On Thursday, following that Tuesday, they called and they said, take those off the table, because the suppliers have decided that they will take no new orders for 3 months. And at that period of time, we can't guarantee whichever builder builds the ambulance for 700 days. So now we're at 2 years. Even if we put our name on the list today, it will be 2 years before they will even likely. And we've got one ambulance that got rear-ended on 69, and Justin's working with the insurance on that. Of course, it's a specialized vehicle, and sometimes even if you fix it, the insurance say we won't stand behind it because of structural damage. So I don't know where the insurance is on that. But I wanted to let you know that if we got our name on the list today, it still would be, I can't put our name on the list today for another 2 months. It would still be 700 days. Besides the increased cost. By that time, our run volume is up. Whether that's COVID or the fact that people have not been able to have other elective surgeries done, that has costed our runs. We were over 4,000 runs last year. And that's gone up by at least 10% or higher every year for the last 2 or 3 years, which now puts our mileage on our trucks, or the hours, which is generally what we go by at Forest Mile. In 2 years, we're going to have at least 5 trucks well over 220-some thousand miles on them. So your maintenance goes up. So I guess what I'm saying is, be aware there is a problem, and at maybe within a month, have to ask permission that we either get our name on the list. Used ambulances, they have a waiting list for them. And it puts the cost of an ambulance now, with those new features, up to $250,000. Now that does not include a trade-in, so it would be less than that, but it would be close to $800,000. And when I sent that first letter out, I knew you were considering the Recovery Act money. saving on interest or whatever. But I wanted to alert you of the problem and maybe some advice how to proceed. Or what do? Do we commit, put our name on the list? What's it gonna take?
Wayne, where are we in the lease process with our current?
You have this is the last year, 100,000 this year. And I don't know if that first payment's been made or not. You know, Justin, if it's made in January.
I feel like the first payment has been made.
Okay, so there's one more payment of $50,000.
See, I would think the last payment's December.
You're right.
I think the last
You're
payment
right.
is December. First, I'm not sure if it's June. I'd have to look, and I'll have the schedule, but the last payment of the year is in December, because we've had a couple times it's been in January, should have been
We've
December.
had to adjust, yeah.
Technically, if this year in December is our last payment, our strategy in the past has been go to a new lease
Right,
beginning in '23.
right.
But we're being told that we're gonna have some lag time. We can't get it at least probably till '24 if we were lucky. So what do? Do we, I forget our lease options. Do we get to buy these if we want to outright and they're ours, or are we supposed to give those up?
Yes. You can buy them outright. Normally, we have used Republic, as a lease purchase agreement with them.
I don't remember, Mark, right now. I haven't seen the paperwork lately, but the current lease that's on those, is that a capital lease where you're actually buying them?
Yes,
Okay, so they are gonna be, if that's the case, they'd be ours when the lease is paid off.
right. And so if you
You're not
trade
having to
them
buy
in,
them at that point.
of course, the value of that ambulance is higher anyway. And we do maintain maintenance on it quarterly. We do that for insurance purposes, liability as well. And the same person takes care of all of the ambulances, so they know them by number, the ambulance. So,
But the point being, once that lease is paid off, my assumption would be they are our ambulances.
yes, they
at that
are.
point.
They are our ambulance. You may have to make a dollar payment or.
That's normal. That's common.
Yeah, at the end, but they are titled to.
They aren't being rented, they're being purchased.
Yeah.
Lease purchase, that's right.
So we need to come up with a timeline strategy on how to get,
We need to be thinking about it because I can't do anything for at least another month. Now, there is a possibility, because these ambulance manufacturers are hurting as well, because some of them, like the one broker that we use, I think the city of Chicago buys 5 of them a month to replace. And so the demand is high, like everything else, and the supply is limited. But there is another option that if you did have the cash, and that's why I sent that out about earlier, they will work out a deal that if you prepay a certain amount, they will reduce, mainly because they've got to fund their operations, providing ambulances.
But you still don't get the truck any sooner, you don't get it any earlier.
And that all depends on chassis, getting the chassis. So, don't want to be a bearer of bad news, but it's going to be something you're going to have to think about if you want to run the ambulance.
right,
And we've done pretty well as far as financially. I think Angie figured out for us that all of the ancillary cost, I think Angie said we still were $16,000 above our expenditures, including the ambulances, by the collections. So we've done pretty well in that respect.
so we're taking care of our medical population that needs basic life support.
Well, right now,
And we are still paying the bills.
you're right. And
Right.
So anyway, so that's what I wanted to put on the table, and yeah, Angie said it, with the budget, the health insurance, life insurance, the lease payment would leave $16,000. So I'm sure I will be back.
Sure we'll have questions for you too.
Okay,
Thanks, Dwayne. All right, we are going on. Got a few items I think we can move through fairly quickly. Ratification of a GIS data request. Justin printed off for our packets this email. Request has come in. We're working on a project with the road department at the city of Marion where they're updating some layers. They asked if we could have a copy of the 2020 imagery that is shown on the elevated site. Would we be able to provide a copy, but did not want to do so without permission. This is the Snyder Geospatial company doing that. Are you comfortable with us sharing that with them? And traditionally, if a company or projects are requesting it, we will allow them, but we do it with a motion from the commissioners, because that is electronic data that is housed elsewhere, but we have rights to it. So I went ahead and did that because of we need a ratification of that action. So need a motion to ratify that with your permission.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to ratify the GIS request presented by Schneider Geospatial. All those in favor would say aye.
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 Aye. Carried. We also have a request for Alcohol and Tobacco Commission appointment. And correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, is that a reappointment?
So this is your current appointment, Stacy Sample. She's resigning from the commission.
Oh, okay.
Her appointment actually ends 12/31/22. So at the end of the year, she is able to serve through April.
So we need to find someone.
Yes. I didn't know if you gentlemen had anyone in mind, or if you wanted the commission to suggest or recommend someone.
I do not know how often they meet. I don't know if it's quarterly or.
It's first Tuesday of each month at City Hall.
So they are meeting 12 times a year. So we would not have a representative after next month. How would you like to proceed with this, gentlemen? Do you want to advertise it? Do you want to ask for recommendations from the board?
At one point in time, there was a move, if you will, from some people who wanted that appointment. And so I think we should explore that, see who's interested and why, and act accordingly.
I believe in your packets, I also put the state statute with some of the requirements and criteria. It's fairly loose, but.
Have to be 21. I guess you have to be of drinking age to make decisions about alcohol in the county. But other than that, we'll put out a general announcement that we're looking for recommendations that can come from interested citizens, and we can also seek any comments or direction from the board as well. All right. Next, regional elected officials agreement. Last week we had a representative come in. This is something that we pretty much sign every time it comes to us. This is for agreement is made with chief elected officials from Allen, Adams, DeKalb, Grant, Huntington, LaGrange, Noble, Steuben, Wabash, Wells, Whitney, and the city of Fort Wayne, which comprises Region 3 of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. In the past, it's been a 3-year agreement, but with some changes that happened at the state level, they have been given approval to go into a 5-year agreement. These are the folks that work with Work One, and we have a seat at that table. We just need permission to sign the agreement on behalf of the county.
So moved.
Second.
Motion with support to approve the regional elected officials agreement, local area Region 3. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it is carried. We will get that done. Before we move to other business with Amoresco, just for your consideration, I will be out of the state on the 21st, which is our regular scheduled meeting. We have the option of you gentlemen going ahead with that meeting, or if you want to postpone one day, I can be back from my work in Kentucky and be ready on the 22nd if you would want to do that.
I would prefer that.
Yes.
All right, by consent, we will move the next regular session of the Board of Commissioners from March 21 to March 22 at 10 a.m. in these chambers. All right. Okay, the presentation of a change order by Pyramid has been removed from this particular session, and we're ready to go to Amoresco. Brad Driver is representing Amoresco, and we're going to talk about the asset planner and space planning proposal.
Mark Hairbrandt was wanting to present. He got called out real quick. Here you go.
Well, we were saving the best for last, so I was calling on you, and you say it's Mark.
I was taking a phone call real quick when I was looking at the agenda.
Sir.
Good morning, everyone. For the record, my name is Mark Hairbrandt. I'm a senior account executive with Amoresco, and with me today I have Brad Driver, who is our project developer. As you all know, there's been a lot of discussion about the current state and condition of some of the buildings that you have here at the county, and some even saying, why should you invest in putting more money into the courthouse, and even discussions about maybe you should look at building a new facility to house courts and maybe other offices. So we have a program with little investment that can help you to make good educated decisions about the building investments that you would make here at the county, as well as prioritize what those investments would be in your buildings, as well as also look at space planning, which I believe could be very beneficial to the county to create some efficiencies in the way they can operate. And so with me today, I have Brad Driver. He's not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just briefly go through what this might look like, what type of a program this is that can help you to understand the conditions of your buildings and then make good, solid decisions on what the next steps might be to invest in them, or maybe even look at a new facility. So with that, Brad.
Good morning. My name is Brad Driver. I'm the Senior Project Developer for Amoresco. I believe that the commissioners, you guys should have received our proposal. We had sent this middle part of last week. Justin, I think that you got it in the packet. So I'm hoping that you had some time to review this. This was a proposal for those that attended the council meeting last month on I believe it was February 16th is the last council meeting. If you attended in person or you joined via remotely, Amoresco presented kind of what this was. So that's one reason why Mark said I'm not really going to go through a lot of this. We kind of presented what the asset planner sustainability program is for your assets. We discussed about being able to do asset, some space utilization studies for you. and just about what the tool and the software is that you could utilize. On page 5 of your proposal, you know, we've got some deliverables, we've got some outcomes of those deliverables, realizing that this software package, what it is once we go through and put boots on the ground and we go through your 6 facilities and we identify, we are updating the information that we currently have, that we had done some of this information for you back in 2014, 2015, and then at the request in 2017. You guys had requested us to do some condition assessment of your buildings at that time. And we did do that, and we presented that to you guys in meetings as well. So we would be able to go back through those buildings. You guys have obviously done a lot of improvements since 2017 in your facilities. And so we would go and get all that information updated, and then we would be able to sit down and go through meetings with you, kind of outline what that is, and work sessions per se. So you guys would understand what's going on. We would be able then to produce the reports that in case the auditors would need to see it, in case the council would need to see it, we would be able to produce those reports that you would be able to take to them, or we could support you with those as well to be able to show people, hey, here's what's going on with our current assessment of our buildings. On page 9 of the proposal, we've got some information in there about the space planning and the analysis of that. That kind of outlines the activities of what we would do. Obviously, there's an initial preparation, there's space standards review, there's a space validation, and then at the end, we would deliver recommendations based upon what that is. We've got bullet points in there that kind of explain, you know, we're obviously going to have meetings with you guys, with you guys to form some sort of a building committee. We would understand what is it that you guys are looking for, what are you trying to do, what's long-range plans, so that we can then bring this information back to you. The good thing about all these asset planning, sustainability studies, and space utilization studies is that you guys, as the commissioners, you selected Ameresco in December to be your ESCO moving forward. And so this work is just one piece of what Ameresco brings to the table that differentiates ourselves from the competition. And so that we would be able then to roll this underneath that, since you've already selected us, we would be able to offer this offering to you guys underneath that then. And then on page 10, you've got the proposal there. On page 10, you've got the one-time fee that we have for the condition assessments. And then we've got the one-time fee that you could include if you want to choose the space planning portion of this. And then we've got the annual fee for 1 to 5 years of what that software, so the asset planning modules, the hosting, the backups, the security, the annual report, and the executive presentations that we would come with you guys twice a year to be able to sit down with you, show you what's going on, the improvements that you've made as you continue to make improvements to your buildings, to whatever you're doing. We would keep that updated in the software so that you guys would be able to understand what that is then. So so that's a little bit of what we're providing to you then.
Questions, comments?
Brad, are you suggesting that we as commissioners should not take this action ourselves and do the work that you're doing? Am I insulting you by saying that?
What work are you asking? What work do you think that we're asking to do?
Well, utilization of the courthouse, for example. I know some discussion going on right now with elected officials from the council as well as the commission. What are we going to do with that courthouse?
You want to talk?
Sure, I can try to best answer that from what I know. What I've seen is that most of the elected officials really don't have a good grasp about what the conditions are of the courthouse and the buildings themselves. I know that you recently had a leak of a frozen pipe that the dampers didn't close like they should have over there. And so, people were talking about, I heard a lot of discussion about, well, it's an old system. Well, the HVAC system was put in 10 years ago. It's not that old. And as we look at the courthouse, and I've been doing this for 22 years, and I've been in every courthouse here in the state, your courthouse is really in very good condition compared to a lot that I see. And so I think that it's really, after listening to everybody, is trying to take a step back and not necessarily do that project that we were asked to look at, why the water was infiltrating to the building, but try to get our arms wrapped around what really is going on in your buildings. How would you prioritize if you're going to invest in any of your buildings? Prioritize how you best spend your money in those, knowing what the life cycle costs are and the conditions and what you're seeing in the facilities. And so this program is, the way I look at it, is a small investment so that you can put everything together, put it out on paper, and show you what we found in the buildings, what the condition is, where your liabilities may be at hand, and then you make a smart decision about how you invest the dollars that you have. Should you put them in that courthouse, knowing how much money that you're going to be spending on it? Or should you take a step back and do some long-term planning and space utilization studies after you've done all of that, and then build the new facility? I don't have the answers for you today, but that's kind of what I've seen, and I hope that answers your question.
It does, in a way. I do know that there is some discussion with members of the council as to what we should do, not only in the short term, but in the long term. And that is, do we want to build another facility? Do we want to vacate the current courthouse? And those questions have not been answered yet.
That's why I think something like this is a small investment that you make that would give you the information to make good, educated decisions about where you spend your money. That's what this would do, rather than just jump in and say, well, we need to spend $2 million here, and then second guess yourself as to whether you should have done that at all.
In all candor,
Yeah.
I would like to have some time to work with members of the council, apart from the commissioners, to take a look at what we're proposing today and what we're proposing in the future. And I think in order to do that, we've got to take into consideration what some of the council are contributing to this process.
Yeah, I mean, you asked the question if we were looking at trying to take something away or do something of what maybe falls under the commissioners, right? Mm-hmm. That's not what this is. This is for us to provide professional services to you guys on what is going on with the current condition assessment of your 6 buildings, and bring that information back to you so you guys can then make those decisions either as a governing body or along with your constituents from the council, right? At least right now, you don't have anything in front of you that says, tell me what my deferred maintenance is on any of these buildings from 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I don't know what I need to spend in 15 years right now on this particular building. And with our tools that we've done, and we've got the information that shows you that we've worked with several clients around North America to establish these kind of things, that you would then have the tools at hand and the information at hand and the technical information at hand to be able to help you guys guide through what you want to do.
I just had a illustration pop into my head, and I'll share it. I hope I don't muddy the waters. But every so often, I go through what they call the life screening process, where I go to the hospital and they check, they take pictures of me, they look at my blood and all that, and then I get a report, oh, you may have a cholesterol problem here, we're gonna watch this particular part of your veins and your artery system. And I kind of see this as a life screening for all of our buildings. That they're gonna be taking the data and saying, this is an area of concern and it's gonna cost you X amount of money in the future. That's something we need to be watching for. Is that fair? I know it's a.
I mean, we're not saying that you need to spend it, but we're giving you the tools to be able to say, here's what's going on based on, you know, from ground up of what's going on within that building, within, you know, we kind of, the analogy, if you were at, if you heard what Mark Reddish, our other colleague that presented, we take a building, and if you took a building and turned it upside down and shook it, everything that falls out of that building is not really what we're looking at. We're looking at everything that stays within that building, you know? So your furniture and stuff like that, that's gonna fall out of the building, right? People are gonna fall out of the building, right? But we're gonna take a look at everything that stays within that building, that encompasses that building, and we're going to be able to give you a condition assessment of that building. And we can take that out 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years in life cycle costing to show you what's going on with that building.
And again, to step aside from current buildings, if we decide we want to look at other buildings, that would follow along too.
Right, because if you guys consider that we want to look at doing something with a new building, how are you, you know, we can provide that information of what that cost may be, but if you need some sort of a comparison. Because if you're gonna spend X here on something new, but it's only Y over here, you need something to be able to say, but in 15 years, what am I going to have to do to this building over here? Is it going to equal the cost of this building? And remember, once you build something new, you can't walk away from it, right? You just can't say, I don't need to touch that for 10 years, 15 years, right? Well, you better put something into it and maintain that building, or you could be back into the same situation that you are with some of your current buildings.
Did that help at all?
Well, I know that there are people in positions to call some of these shots.
Okay.
What are we going to do with our current courthouse? Are we going to vacate it? If so, are we going to turn it into something like Noblesville, for example? I don't have the answers to this. I know that there are people that are exploring it, asking questions and making suggestions that I think we should listen to.
Ron, what's going on in Noblesville?
What's going on? They vacated the courthouse.
No, that's completely inaccurate. Our treasurer, the auditor, the recorder, all of them are still in the courthouse. No one's vacated it.
No, well, they have made space available in that courthouse for outside entities to establish an office and process their business through that office.
We don't have any room in there.
Pardon?
There's no room in our county courthouse.
Well,
in Hamilton County.
Okay, all right.
I would know of anybody. I would know. It's completely packed with offices in it.
Give me an example of somebody that is in that office now that was not in that office 5 years ago.
Maybe a full-time court.
Pardon?
Maybe a full-time court. That's it. There's an old historic courtroom up there, but it's fully occupied with offices and departments.
In the process of working toward the right solution for Grant County, I think we should look at what is available, what are some of the offices that might be interested in that courthouse, and do we look at building another facility outside of the current facility?
That's what this would do.
And what tools do you have right now, Ron, at your discretion to be able to make those decisions right now?
Well, I'll tell you what I've got. I've got several councilmen that are elected by the people that are making suggestions as to what I am talking about today. And I don't think we should ignore that. I believe we should listen to those council people, work with those council people, and come to a solution that is compatible and agreeable for the county of Grant.
Totally agree with you.
And so really, I would prefer, if I might suggest this, that we continue to work with these members of the council, look at what is available, what might be available, and what is the best expenditure of our dollars in doing so.
Ron, just if I might add, I think what they're suggesting, and right or wrong, what they're suggesting is that the information they can provide to you would give you the way to make that decision, whether it should be to renovate and take care of what you currently have, or do you do something different. And they're saying, I guess, suggesting that, and I think the council's probably admitted that, and I think it's probably true. You probably aren't prepared to make that kind of a comparison or decision now because you don't have the information available to you. You may have some feelings, but you don't have really data, I'm gonna say.
Yeah. No, I agree, we do not have that. But we are working toward that with some of the members of the council.
And so you think the council can actually do what they're suggesting they would do for you?
Yes.
Okay, well see, if you feel like you can do it on your own, then you don't need them.
Yep. Exactly. Well, that would be my suggestion.
We have this proposal in front of us. I'm looking, if we were to accept all three modules, we would be putting out about $64,000, and
Over 5 years.
over a 5-year period. That included the software annual fees, 2 one-time
Yes.
payments of $19,000 and $21,000 and some change. At this point, I think we need to, is the next council meeting?
It's a week from, Wednesday, it's the 16th,
So it's technically before our next meeting,
March 16th.
and we can share this information with them and get their feeling, and then come back and.
And we'll be doing the agenda tomorrow for that meeting, so.
Yeah.
I think it's fair that we clear the air with the council, make sure that we are together, that we're not pulling 2 different ways right now. And once we clarify that, we'll take our next steps.
Sounds great. Appreciate the opportunity.
Appreciate the data. At least we've got hard figures on where we know it's going to, our cost factor is going to go to get this information.
That sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. That concludes the new business section. Gentlemen, are you aware of other new business that we need to note?
Yeah.
All right. Before we open up for public comment, we do just want to remind folks again, those listening, those in the room, that we will be scheduling our next regular session on March the 22nd at 10 a.m. instead of the 21st. And just looking, anyone that's online, if you would like to address the Board of Commissioners, we ask you to go get off mute and present your name, your address, and any concerns or comments that you want to share.
Yes, this is Mike Rohrbach, County Councilman. I'd like to.
Hey, Mike, go right ahead.
I want to thank Amoresco for the information. They did make a presentation at our February meeting. I really appreciate Commissioner Mallory's inclusion of the council and wanting to consider, and I know the other 2 of you, I'm sure, do. I'm not there. I can't see the body language, but I know you've all been open. I really believe that to make a good decision, we've got to have more information. I think that was the conclusion. I wasn't aware of what the cost was. Did I hear it right? $64,000 over 5 years?
That's an approximation. There's some change that it goes a little further than that, but yeah, just under $65,000, Mike.
Might just add,
Yeah, and
$41,720, then there's an annual fee after that.
if we're looking at spending $10 million, which we have of ARP money and probably more, I think, I don't believe I'm saying this, 64,000 is not a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but not in comparison. And my question is, what budget would that come from? Do we have it? Is the auditor's office going to pay for it, or where's it going to come from?
The auditor's office, how do you figure that? My response, Mike, would be the commissioners have to look at their budget, see what's available in their budget for that type of service. If it's not there, it would come to you as an additional appropriation request.
We generally pull that, those types of contracts out of contractual. That would be where we would look for it at.
Bottom line is, it's general fund, I would say. Wherever we put it in the general fund, that's what it would be. It could be the
I appreciate Commissioner Mallory saying to let the council look at it at our meeting, and you too, Commissioner Bardsley. And I think we will look at it at our March meeting, then you guys can consider and make the decision. But I think we're headed in the right direction, but I do believe the information is invaluable to have at our fingertips to make a good decision. Thank you for allowing me to interfere. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else online before we go to those in the chambers? Hearing none, we'll open it up. If anyone in the chambers would like to address the Board of Commissioners, we invite you to step to the podium, present your name, your address, concerns, or comments, and we'll go from there.
I'm Randy Atkins, 8560 South Wheeling Pike, Fairmount, Indiana. In regard to solar, it's my understanding that Senate Bill 411 has made it through the House and the Senate, which means it will be headed towards the governor's desk for approval. I understand that Grant County's goal at this point would be to come up with an ordinance that meets the goals of Grant County so that we're not held responsible for whatever the state may come up with. For the sake of time, I've collected some ordinance information that's been made aware to me, and I'd like to give you guys a copy of it. And I would like to reflect on the county's comprehensive plan. It's my understanding that Grant County developed a comprehensive plan, and an ordinance should reflect or fulfill our county's comprehensive plan. A desirable physical environment throughout the county. Protection of existing land use patterns from encroachment of incompatible uses. The optimal use of county's natural resources. Conditions of public health and safety throughout the county. An optimal relationship among various land uses throughout the county. The appropriate balance of prime agricultural land for farm use and production. Optimal range of agricultural activities in the county. I plan to share this with the Area Planning Commission tonight as well, because it's my understanding that these would need to be taken into consideration as we develop the ordinance. I also have come to believe that the ordinance should come from the representation of Grant County, which is displayed in the Area Planning Commission. And I would encourage or hope that our elected county commissioners would accept whatever proposal that the Area Planning Commission brings to you. Appreciate your efforts. Good to see you guys. Mark, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else this morning? I believe you do have an area plan meeting this evening, don't you? Yes, sir. All right. Anything else, gentlemen, for the good of the order?
No.
All right. Hearing none, we will declare ourselves in recess and reconvene March 22nd at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim, do you need a letter from me? Or
For the agenda? Yeah, I would say so. You want to have discussion?